Okay, this is a continuing series, No Lunch, Just Learn. And today we're going to talk about how to achieve R-15 with the InSoFast panels. But first I want to give you a little background of what it is. Now, we are not bound by any credit hour restrictions, so we can be biased and opinionated, and it is up to you to filter out what's going to work for you. We're going to tell you what we believe to be true. So there is a goal in the building industry to hit what we call net zero. And to hit net zero means the building can be turned off the grid, that we're not going to be consuming energy off the grid. So why are we doing that? Because we don't want to build a huge infrastructure to support more and more energy consumption. Buildings actually account for 40%. They consume 40% of all energy produced. So if we can make our buildings energy efficient like we're making our cars, it's going to serve everybody well. So what we've done is we've broken down the United States into different climate zones. If you're lucky enough to live in southern Florida, you're in climate zone 1, good for you. If you're lucky enough to live in Alaska, that's climate zone 8, good for you. We have energy and insulation requirements for all different zones in the United States, so we can get the energy efficiency up to net zero, or down to net zero. So the code R-402 1.1 insulation and fenestration criteria can get pretty confusing. As you can see on the left-hand side, all the different climate zones, and if you look at the chart, there's all different kinds of insulation requirements. If you look right here, the basement R value, this is what we're going to be discussing today. Now, if we zoom in on it, some of these little number ones and stuff like that give you a sense of what they're trying to say. So they're going R-15 means R-15 continuous insulated sheathing on the interior exterior of the home, or R-19 cavity insulation at the interior of the basement wall. R-10, R-13, same thing. And what they're really talking about there is the inefficiency of wood frame construction. You know, fiberglass insulation, when installed correctly in an R-19 batt in a 6-inch cavity, will achieve that R-19, but the wood studs on either side are only going to be an R-5, 5.5. And 20% of the wall is going to be R-5 and R-5.5. So the overall value and insulation performance of that entire wall is really an R-15. So the codes have been written so we can get R-15 continuous, just go with foam or foam insulation or another method to achieve that continuous R-15 code and not having to put wood studs up. The thing about fiberglass insulation, it is simple, but it's not easy to get it right. That picture right here, you can see all the good intentions of where they caulked in between the studs to seal off the air leaks, and they stuffed that insulation in there, but as they stuffed it in wrong, and you can see the hot spots that are all over where the fiberglass is compressed. You need to have no air movement. You need to have it completely fluffed out. So as we're looking at the insulation codes, what we're really going to be talking about today is the increased requirements for climate zones 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, in particular, R-15 continuous. Now, again, R value is just a performance of the material. And essentially, we put the material in a easy-bake toaster oven. We have it cold on one side, we have it hot on the other side, and we see how long it takes to reach an equilibrium, so it's completely 75 degrees. That can take, that is then given a number, which is R whatever, means R means resistance of energy flow. So getting to the next phase, InSoFast is just on R 4.45 per inch. InSoFast is just an R 4.45 per inch. Our basic panel, the InSoFast 2-inch panel, would be an R 8.9, but when we tested it, or as we publish it, because of all the drainage channels and electrical raceways that we've already built into it, we take a half an R out, so it's an R 8.5 for this 2-inch panel. This would be a regular foam board that you can get almost anywhere. This would be an R10 for 2 inches. So if you were to put these two together, you would get an R 18.5. So that's what we're going to show you today, how to achieve that R 18.5 with either 2-inch foam or 1-inch foam. I'm going to show you both methods, but we're going to start off by actually doing this. This demonstration wall is already up. This little outcrop that we have built in front of it is 8 inches deep and about, I don't know, I don't measure stuff. Don't have to with InSoFast. But we're going to cover this, and I'm going to show you how to cover that and then how to install the other foam on top of it. So we'll get started with that right now. And what I'll have to do is turn on another camera so you can see the edges. But first, what I want to do, now, as I did this, we had one 2-foot by 4-foot panel, and then another 2-foot by 4-foot panel, and it ended right on a stud. Now, I don't want to demonstrate that because it's just too convenient, and I want to show you something else with a metal L angle. So what I'm going to start off with is cutting about 4 inches off of this panel, and this would be the first panel I'll start with to get that running bond. So let me show you how to cut the panel. Whoops. So I'm just taking a line down here to mark it, just to give a representation of where I want to cut this line right in here. With InSoFast, you're just using a regular razor blade knife. And you make a couple of scores. You don't have to cut it all at once. And you really don't have to be all that accurate. Because we want it, when you start out, to be kind of loose. So let me put this first panel in. So it's there we go. So this panel going right into this corner, right there, the next panel. Now you can see we left ourselves sort of an awkward edge right here. We have to figure out which way we want to go with that. So on a small piece like this, we can see how we're going to get creative. And I'm going to want to cut it right along that edge. And then there's a light line right there that I can follow that I want to cut on. I'm cutting on the back side, as you can see, because that's where I marked my board. And I'm just going to take it to one side or the other. Now you can see this becomes a small, awkward little piece with another piece right in there that we'd have to fit. Now I am going to cut that in an awkward little piece because I would, well, we'd pretend like we were going to go completely around that corner. So in order to do that corner, that would be this piece right here would fit into there. So as that turns this corner, and I mark this out right here, you can see that I would have to cut along this edge right there to get this to fit the way I want it to fit. So let me mark that again, make sure. And I should have my switcher right there. So this is the piece I'm going to cut. So now we got this awkward little piece. that's going to fit in right in this location. And you can see how that fits together. Now, this next piece that I already cut should fit right here with no cutting needed at all. So now the next piece we're going to do is another full piece. You see, this piece that I cut off carried through and fit right there. My cutting line right there. And this time I'm going to use a little measurement to get it right. About 4 inches all along this line. So I'm just going to etch that. And what's nice about InSoFast is it doesn't have to be perfect. I'll say that over and over again because it is insulation and you want to get it close to being perfect, but it doesn't have to be. There's a lot you can do with spray foam and other fills to make the insulation work. So the next piece goes in. So now what we have is we have this area in here, and what I'd like to do is cut the InSoFast across here and lay it over and then trim it so it fits in between. The other way to do it, let's see if I can get a piece. Would be to have the InSoFast right across the top and stick out. I prefer to have the InSoFast stick up above. So what we need to do is figure out where that 2-inch mark is and then mark it and cut it along there. So my 2-inch mark is going to help me. And what I am going to use, here's that 2-inch mark, about 8 inches down. So 8 inches down from this point. Today I'm going to use a saber saw. Unless the battery dies. And when the battery dies, you pull out the big guns. And it actually needs a battery. So that's one thing you should always do, is prepare and make sure that if you're going to do any cutting, that your battery is powered or you have electric power. Otherwise, you look kind of ridiculous. You can see that bead dust everywhere. One thing I like to do with bead dust is use this, which is called static guard. And I spray this all down in the tools. And then it's not going to stick to everything. It gives really a pleasant, earthy smell. Now, to get this to fit up top, you have to cut about a 1/2 inch . Now we have to cut this one down 8 inches. Now I don't have the blades on the saw set deep enough for a reason. I don't want to cut into the box. So it's scoring right at a particular point. Again, rough cutting. This isn't fine carpentry. This is insulation. And if anything, it would be better to cut it a little bit smaller than a little bit bigger. forgot to switch cameras. As you can see now, we have this lid put up there that does a number of things. If this was an open concrete block, that would seal this off so you wouldn't get soil, gas, and moisture coming up through. That's the nice thing about working with foam plastic. It becomes a vapor barrier, or a barrier which prevents moisture from seeping into your home. So now we have this all fit and ready, except for this last piece right here. And let's see. I would need this piece. Nine and a half inches. Let me see if I got this right. This piece cut. To fit on this section. And we need to mark it, score it, snap it off. Now, this lid has been completed, and you can see how it covers all the concrete surfaces. We need to glue this down and to finish it, but what I really wanted to show you, and this is a question we get all the time, is how do I deal with this corner? How do I deal with that corner? Now, we recommend that you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or any lumber yard and get a 25 gauge L angle. Now this has been cut in half, and we've demonstrated with it a couple of times, but this will cover that soft edge, and you'll use the Loctite PL Premium to glue this on, and you can even tape this on until the glue sets. This will also work along this top edge right here. So we're going to be covering this. So now when you bring the drywall up here, you can screw into this and bring the lid across here. You can screw to that, or you can even put wood or anything you want on here. But what we're really demonstrating today is not the corners, but working with other insulations. Now this insulation was so big that when I got it from my local lumber store, I had to score it in half so I could just get it down the steps. It's a 4x8 sheet. So this is an R6 is what they claim for 1 inch. And what we're going to do simply and this is the whole secret behind hitting R-15 is getting a locally sourced insulation panel that'll take that 8.5 R value up to an R-15. This would work, this 1 inch would work really well on our InSoFast EX, which is an R10.5, so that would give you an R17.5. This is only going to give you an R14.5 if the building code official's really going to be a tight stickler on that. What you'll need to do is get an 1.5 inches of pink board, which is an R7.5, and an R8.5 will give you an R15. But just as simple as it can be, you're going to get a screw and a washer, or tape this down, and you know where the InSoFast studs are going to be. They're going to be at a regular base, So what you would want to do before you install that was get a pen and mark where the studs are going to be. Bring an inch out so you can see it. So now you'll know where the 16-inch on center is going to be all the way down the wall. So when you come to put this on, it's a matter of going, this is where the stud is. And you don't really, for right now, the only thing you could do, the thing you could do is just spot glue this to the InSoFast so it tacks up. And when you put the drywall on, when you screw through the drywall, through this poly-iso into the stud, now that's going to hold it in place. But we'll just put a temporary screw right there. Because what you're buying with InSoFast is the ease of application. And the ease of application really is this piece of wonderment. This is the stud that's embedded in each one of our panels that are 16 inches on center, are what really is holding the drywall, the cabinets. This is like a regular 2x4 stud. It just doesn't have to carry the weight of the upper floors. It's a veneer insulation, a tiled insulation that takes all its structural strength from the concrete wall. So when we glue the stud to the concrete, this is going to hold in place, and the screws are going to hold the drywall in place. So this is 108 pounds per lineal inch. This is 12 inches. So that's around 1,200 pounds worth of pull-off. That should be enough to hold any drywall or cabinet that you have. The screw is going to pull out of the stud way before the stud will pop off the wall. But that's how we achieve an R-15, the InSoFast PLUS system, by laminating another manufacturer's insulation panel on top of our insulation, and you can achieve what you need to achieve. So I want to thank you for spending the time with us. I want to thank you for spending the time. Thanks for the questions that have been coming in. We're going to next be talking about doing the exteriors, and we'll be talking about how to flash and insulate around a window. And this is a commercial grade application where we're putting it on gypsum drywall and a window insert, and how we interface with that. So until then, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time and your interest.